Hi everyone. Good morning again. What an amazing day, isn't it? So many interesting talks we had today. And now we want to start the research and innovation section. In this section, we're going to have three speakers for us. And then after that, we are going to have question and answers. So I would like to ask you that please type your question in the chat, and then at the end we're going to address all the questions. Please make sure that you name the speaker that you want to ask the question about. The first speaker for us is Dr. Qublai Ali Mirza from University of Gloucestershire. He's an experienced researcher in malware analysis, and we are ready to hear his talk. Qublai, over to you.
Morning. Can you see my video and can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
I'm about to share my screen and there it is. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Brilliant. And you can hear me and you can see my video.
Everything is just fine.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, yeah, shall I start?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As Hassan mentioned, I'm Qublai Ali Mirza, and I'm from University of Gloucestershire. The topic of my talk is Cloud Intel. This is our project, a research project, and a product that I'll be working on, an intelligent tool for malware identification and prevention in heterogeneous enterprise networks. So, agenda for today. Overview, problem identification, market need, design and implementation, evaluation, and then conclusion. So overview, enterprises, regardless of their size, currently rely on multiple security solutions to protect their assets. This includes, but not limited to, conventional antiviruses, IDS and IPSs, traffic monitoring, log management, etc. Generally, there are at least 5 security network management tools in a small enterprise network from different vendors. So the problem identification or statement, if I can, conventional security mechanisms can only detect known malware and their variants. They can consume up to 60% of the host resources, can only detect up to 58% of known malicious files. So it's really important to understand that 58% of known malicious files that have been previously identified. We are coding this number based on our research. So this percentage is based on a sample size of 100 malware. When the sample size was increased to 10,000, detection rate came down to 41%. And again, I want to emphasize on the known malicious part. So just to provide you a little bit of background, the research. So continuous evolution of malware and detection evasion techniques is significantly growing, and the reliance on conventional detection mechanisms is actually the main problem, because the reliance on the conventional security mechanism is creating the bigger problem, because they can only detect the known malware. So resource consumption and services cost are exponentially rising for enterprises, which is 2.95 billion pounds last year. Cybercrime, on the other hand, is projected to hit 4.3 trillion annually by 2021. We've got a magnitude of threats and attacks. We've got ransomware, data breaches, denial of services, and very important point in all that is that 43% of breach victims were SMEs. So the problems, the pains for organizations and individuals as well. So we've got resource hungry solutions, lack of personalized optimization for security services. Even when there are solutions that are not resource hungry, there is they initially consume less resources, but they are not personalized. The optimization is not there. They end up being the same as the conventional security solution that are resource hungry. Low rate of detection and prevention against new threats and attacks. As I mentioned earlier, they are 58% or 50% of detection rate, but only for known malware. If there are zero-day attacks, that detection rate goes down significantly. Lack of responsiveness in prevention. A very important point to understand is the responsiveness. The reason why I'm stressing on responsiveness is because if it's not detected immediately, if the attack is not detected immediately, it can just propagate literally and becomes impossible to detect. Excuse me. Market need. So efficient threats and attacks detection. How to enhance enterprise security. I mean, SME's main point or requirement is how to enhance enterprise security without resource-hungry tools. How the total number of physical resources can be reduced while enhancing the security. How to incorporate personalization to enhance optimization for security service model. What can be used to enhance security against catastrophic attacks on SMEs. How to reduce the total number of security tools while staying protected. For individual users, how they can increase security without giving up on their CPU power. Can the security cost be reduced? Affordable and personalized industry level security. For banks, how to automate behavioral anomaly detection, how to identify a potential breach, how to avoid any external or internal threats. So that's where Cloud Intel comes in. So it provides intelligent malware detection, intelligent multi-cloud scalability for SMEs. It offers minimal digital footprint through intelligent optimization, intelligent scalability, and autonomous and responsive behavior, multiple security aspects. For banks, for behavioral anomaly detection, autonomous threat response, internal and external threat mitigation, cost visibility. For individual users, scalable and doesn't rely on the host resources. So you pay a lot of money, an individual pay a lot of money for their laptop, for their desktop, for their machines. And if just to protect it, if a lot of that resource is consumed by antiviruses, what's the point of that security? So independent security mechanism, low cost security as a service. So by definition, Cloud Intel is an IT service model which addresses cybersecurity. Cloud Intel provides an intelligent and energy efficient security solution for enterprise networks, which is intelligently scalable with minimal digital footprint and provides responsive and accurate threat detection. It incorporates FinOps through AI in a multi-cloud backend infrastructure for intelligent energy and cost optimization for personalized network security. It's divided into 3 phases. Phase 1, cloud-based intelligent malware detection. Phase 2A, cloud-based network anomaly detection. Phase 2B, multi-cloud-based intelligent network security. And phase 3, node-to-node recovery model. So what it looks like, something like this. So problems and solution. Let me go over problem and solution, then I come back to the diagram. So problems: locally hosted and resource intensive security solutions, cost intensive scalability, lack of responsiveness in prevention, lack of accurate malware detection, low detection rate, multiple tools requirement for enterprise security. What's the solution that we provide? Lightweight, minimal digital footprint, and intelligently scalable presence. Autonomous, self-evolving, and personalized FinOps solution can work independently or alongside other solutions. It has a GUI-based interface and API-based integration. What it means is that it can be incorporated in conventional security solutions through API or independently through GUI. Highly responsive, highly accurate with intelligent analysis, high detection rate through pattern classification. So if you look at the diagram here, at the bottom, we have got an enterprise, what it looks like an enterprise network. And at the top, we've got multiple cloud security cloud providers, cloud hosting providers. So in the middle, this is where Cloud Intel sits. And what it does is provide the security solution. I'll talk about the security solution in a minute, what the security solution entails. But through your behavioral analysis, through the enterprise network's behavioral analysis, and how the behavior or how the network requires a solution, it learns from that and provides an optimized solution. By optimized solution, it means it incorporates the best features of the cloud solution providers and host the services based on your need. So your billing or enterprise's billing is best optimized each month based on their consumption, right? So even though the solutions, the conventional solutions, or the solution that rely on cloud based backend, they rely on single cloud interfaces. So single cloud interfaces, yes, they are pay per use, but they increase with time, right? But this solution will try to maintain, or it aims to maintain the fully optimized based on the personalized usage. So phase 1 results. On the left hand side, the CPU utilization comparison of host-based CPU utilization comparison of antiviruses and the hosted framework that we came up with. So the antivirus, you can see that they consume up to 30% of the CPU power while running in the scan mode. The proposed hosting model can go up to 5% maximum, but then in all the other iteration, it is less than 5%. On the right hand side, this is the CPU utilization of the proposed hosting model because it's is hosted on the cloud, on AWS cloud. This is the phase 1 I'm talking about. Okay, so CPU utilization, if you look at the right hand side diagram, it's going up to 2.5%. So it's consuming on the CPU on the AWS host, it's consuming up to 2.5%, still a lot less, significantly less than what antiviruses consume when they are running on the host machine. Phase 2A design implementation. It's a little technical diagram, but I won't go into details. So we've got two main phases here: tactical threat intelligence, which is the network data that we retrieve from the enterprise network. On the right hand side, you've got heuristic threat intelligence or file analysis. So the left hand side learns our machine learning algorithms learn from the network data, the personalized logs, and identify the anomalies based on the normal data and say that this is normal and this is not normal for this specific network. The right hand side, you've got threat intelligence, the conventional way. It's still a lot more than conventional way because it incorporates the mechanism antivirus work on, but it actually uses a custom tool that we develop and use the analysis, the malware analysis, to train and test the machine learning models. Phase 2B, it's confidential. It's a multi-cloud based intelligent network security model. So I cannot go into the details of that, but it actually incorporates the multi-cloud backend and provides an optimized personalized solution. Phase 3 is ongoing, which is node-to-node recovery models inspired by serverless architecture. It's for heterogeneous enterprise networks, avoid single point failure, powered by cloud-based intelligent detection engine, which I talked about, and it's based on multi-cloud hosting model. So what does this mean for the market? So we've got different sectors. So we've got micro organization, we've got small organization, medium and large organization. We are targeting small and medium-sized organizations, which contribute to around 22% of, or more than 22% of the total market, right? So small, and we are offering it as a service, right? So total up to it's a combination of 263 million and 2.69 billion, 265 million. That's the market size we are targeting. Competitors. So we've got the conventional mechanisms on the left-hand side, all the antiviruses that we have. On the right-hand side is the security as a service provider organization. So if you look at the left-hand side ones, the conventional mechanisms, we talked about that, how significantly it improves the CPU power and it doesn't consume the host-based resources. At the same time, it increases the level of accuracy in detection and it's highly responsive. On the right-hand side, the security as a service providers, these organizations, all of them are based on single cloud backend services. So like Oracle uses Oracle Cloud, Okta uses AWS, and the rest of them have their own cloud. But our solution is different based on that it's multi-cloud based and provides a more personalized solution. So the efficient threat and attacks detection for SMEs, what it means, a security mechanism with minimal digital footprint, an autonomous tool that doesn't require human supervision or other dedicated resources, intelligent FinOps-based network security with personalized cost and energy optimization, a highly responsive security tool, a solution that covers multiple security aspects with respect to requirements. So for individual users, a scalable security tool that doesn't rely on host machine and doesn't consume your CPU resources, with less number of security tools on your machine, industry-grade security with pay-per-use security model. For banks, I'm emphasizing on banks as well because I'm working with a couple of them. on the solution, a self-learning tool that can identify and learn from behavioral patterns through the autonomous intelligence that monitors and responds to anomalies. So as a product, what it means, it has multiple phases. So endpoint integration can be integrated on the endpoint or client side. So cloud intelligent layer, which can be incorporated through API, provide remote services and licensing. So primary customers, SMEs, higher education institutes, banks, secondary customers, government organizations, healthcare. To conclude, it's a high value market, which is exposed to risk. We provide intelligent based security, provide an AI based FinOps for multi-cloud scalability with a provision of higher revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Qublai. Very interesting talk indeed. The next speaker is Reid Derby. Reid is innovation lead for Cyber Central UK in Cheltenham. He has been a technology leader and inventor in the UK government for a long time with huge experience on cybersecurity, big data analysis, and helping many startup companies. The title of the talk for the Reid is Cyber Innovation at the Core of Regional Development. And we are quite excited to hear that. Over to you, Reid.
Thank you very much, Hassan. Yeah, that was a fascinating presentation before by Qublai. A really great piece of work there. Really interesting to see how that develops. And it's a great pleasure to be part of this symposium. A great event so far, and I'm really looking forward to all the bits later. So yes, thanks for that introduction. What I'll do is talk a bit about the context around the Golden Valley development at Cyber Central, and then I will talk a bit about my view on innovation and cyber and so on, and hopefully that will be interesting and useful and provoke some questions. So I'm gonna see if I can just share my slides. There we go. So Golden Valley. Yeah, interesting. If we go back to, I guess, 2015, there are lots of different origin stories for Golden Valley and Cyber Central, but 2015 is a good place to start. So the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, came to Cheltenham as part of some work on the National Cybersecurity Strategy at the time, and he announced that there would be 2 cyber innovation centres in the UK, one in London and one in Cheltenham. And this really got people excited in the local community and including in the local government sector, which was traditionally, I guess, hadn't really done a lot in this sector over the past. And so I guess what happened then was that the local councils, so Cheltenham Borough Council, Tewkesbury Borough, Gloucester City, were working together on the joint core strategy, and they saw the opportunity to really serve the sector in a region by earmarking 200 hectares of allocated land. You can see the sort of large blue area west of GCHQ, east of the M5, and to earmark that for development, for employment, for housing. And then in 2019, Cheltenham Borough Council purchased 45 hectares of land at some considerable cost, really to try and take this forward. And that was, I guess, when the vision for Golden Valley really kicked off. And the vision has been sort of growing over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's really for this incredible, smart, compelling city, a garden town, an extension, I guess, to Cheltenham, but part of a wider Gloucestershire scene that would really build for the future. And if you think about the sort of the garden towns and cities in the UK in the past, you've got places like Welwyn Garden City. This is a new sort of distinctive garden town, or extension, I should say, but it will be sustainable. It's going to be a place to live and work and to hang out and to really to do something quite new. And I suppose what part of the challenge, certainly in Cheltenham, is that, you know, we're often seen as a place to come and retire, you know, and it's lovely, you know, we've got, you know, tremendous things going on, but actually, what is there for young people and for the next generation? And so we wanted to be able to do something that would really build for the future. And that was how, I guess, the Golden Valley vision was born. And, that people have just been capturing, their imaginations with this, to the point where, working with Homes England, we got garden community status. And, we started to map out what that could be like. So the ability to build 4,000 new homes, to create up to 2 million square feet of employment space. And within that, maybe I think we're talking maybe 130,000 square feet for innovation. And to be a place that would be a 24/7 campus and really bring the best of urban and rural living together, something quite distinctive and iconic, not just for the region, but for the UK, that would really resonate. And so, we put together a pitch with the Department for International Trade back last year, really sort of pre-COVID. We were going to DIT were going to take us to Cannes in the south of France, to the global property show, but of course COVID happened, so we did an online launch instead. And you've probably seen the video that we created with Asha. I'm not sure how rock and roll it was, but it was a really quite an interesting sort of time, and that launched us. But of course the world has changed quite radically since 2015. We've seen Brexit, we've seen the pandemic, and lots of changes in global geopolitics and government's drive on science and technology. So lots of things have happened, moving to hybrid working. What's been really encouraging, though, is that with Golden Valley, we believe that what we're offering is actually, even more compelling given the way things have changed. And we look at the sort of strategies and in the local sector and also nationally. And what we're doing hopefully will resonate with policymakers, with the industrial strategy, innovation strategy, and really help to grow the cyber sector and beyond locally and so on. And I guess we've alluded to this throughout the day. The cyber sector is a huge growth area that's accelerated through COVID. And we in the UK aim to be we are a global leader, but we want to really strengthen that and to make it further strong, and to diversify as well, and to build for the future. And it's just so amazing that we in Cheltenham and Gloucestershire have those capabilities already. And we did a bit of economic analysis last year, and just to sort of satisfy ourselves that actually it's not all hype. And what we found was that the numbers stack up. There's a lot of potential value here. So there's economic value in terms of jobs and helping to create new products and services and new companies as well, and homes and so on. But actually there's also the social outcomes as well, because this is not just about making money. This is about climate change. This is about leveling up and diversity and inclusion. And what's been fascinating as well, as we've started to look at some of the numbers, is that Cheltenham has 11 times the density of cyber-related businesses compared to the national average, which, I suppose those of us that have worked in the sector in the region for a while, we know that it's it's an open secret really, but it's not something that has necessarily resonated more broadly. And similarly in Gloucestershire, we've got a lot to offer, but we haven't maybe told the story, and hopefully that's starting to change. And you might say, well, what is the value proposition? Why is it so special? And I guess we can go back to GCHQ, over 60 years ago, I think it is, came to the region. They are, a tremendous amount of cyber security work there, a lot of resources, a lot of amazing people, mission problems, but also, great network of academics and in industry, and a real sort of focal point. But of course, what's been happening over the last few years is that ecosystem has been developing under the surface, and places like Hub 8 and others have started to sort of support that. And we have some of the world's biggest tech companies here. We've got some incredible startups. You just need to think about Immersive Labs. So James Hadley, came out of GCHQ a number of years ago, headquartered now in Bristol, actually working, a lot of connections in Cheltenham, working. This is Hub 8. They are now 200 people strong. They've just had a Series C investment, $75 million, and they're looking to triple in size in the next couple of years. And they're part of a regional ecosystem, and there's lots of stories there. So great excitement. Cyanum has been mentioned before. Cyanum, as a trusted community organization, it's independent. It's there for everybody. It's there to help bring together all the different parts of the community for growth and for sort of flourishing in our sector. And it's been a real pleasure to be part of that. Other parts of the value proposition, well, you don't have to spend a lot of time in Gloucestershire to know how beautiful it is, and just the opportunities to live and work here. I mean, I live in Cheltenham, and I'm going to go out for a run later on after we finish the event today, and I can be up in the hills in half an hour. I can run from my door. When I was working and living in London, it was a lot harder to do that sort of thing, and so we've got a lot of compelling places to live and work. And of course, with COVID, a lot of the work in the knowledge economy, of which we're part of, you can work and live in different places, but living is becoming even more important, where we choose to live. And of course, we talk about innovation and sort of talent. We are at the epicenter of some incredible regional assets in academia and also in industry. And we've got our own University of Gloucestershire here today, so there's some tremendous opportunities there. In terms of the talent base, we've talked a bit about the next generation, and that is one of the challenges that we have, I think, in the UK. We inspiring the next generation to get involved in cyber and digital and related skills and technologies, because there's so much work to be done, and also to do that in an inclusive way that reaches out to, communities like in Hester's Way in Cheltenham that haven't traditionally been part of the sector. So the good thing is that there's been a lot going on, with the likes of NCSC working in partnership with Cyber First and the local schools and so on. And so great opportunities there. And the other thing is that I guess that we're now part of this Western Gateway region, which stretches from South Wales all the way through Gloucestershire down to Bath and Bristol and Swindon and Wiltshire, and again lots of great assets there, trying to bring them together for mutual benefit. And this is not a zero-sum game. This is something that is going to be good for everybody. So in terms of just thinking about what we're doing, and I'll get onto innovation in a moment. I talked about the smart city. We're in a region where we've got a lot of assets already, and there's a lot of infrastructure happening. Improvements to support things. We've got our own airport in the region. We've got great road travel and rail, and there's a lot of potential to scale this up. And of course, we talk about being a centre. We don't just want to brag about this. We actually want to serve the rest of the UK, and there's some tremendous other areas leading on cyber, and we want to be part of that national message and national team. So let's just think about innovation for a moment. How does innovation happen? Well, we can think of it as the sort of Silicon Valley model where, you have to be in San Francisco and you've got to be of a certain demographic, and that's where it all happens. The reality is a lot different. I mean, if you talk to people like Steve Blank, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, there's a backstory there, and a lot of government funding and high investment research for the long term. In the US case, a lot of that for national security, but moving into other sectors like energy and environment and so on. And we just need to think about some of the research on innovation and growth. Mariana Mazzucato does a great has a great thesis around that government role. So look at the iPhone. A lot of the technologies came out of the US government, and then the private sector worked really well to turn those into amazing products and services, like in Apple's case. So it's a more complicated picture in terms of innovation. And I guess for us, we are with Golden Valley have an opportunity to build that trusted platform across academia, across government, across industry and society to encourage knowledge exchange, encourage serendipitous happenings, and solve some of the big problems and grow the economy at the same time. And that's really what we're trying to do. The other model that we like is the sort of startup communities. So Boulder, Colorado is very similar to Cheltenham. It's 100,000 people. It's got government agencies like NIST and NOAA. It's got large tech companies like IBM and others, and a great sort of entrepreneurial density and sort of high tech communities, big enough to be interesting and small enough for everybody to know each other. And it feels like that's what we have here in Cheltenham and Gloucestershire. And so what do we look for, to grow innovation? We need the people and skills. We need the leadership. We need the access to markets and new companies. We need investment, and we need infrastructure. And those are the sorts of things that we're building. So for Golden Valley, we are right in the thick of a procurement process to get a developer in and an innovation operator, working again with the amazing ecosystem that's already there. And we've been thinking around what sort of innovation activities and the sort of innovation zone or innovation center at the heart of this. And this is about connecting all of the different dots together and building that trust platform that is sort of everyone feels that they've got a part in this. The other thing that we're thinking about is to do, something like an international spy museum like you've got in Washington, DC. Can we build on the heritage that is in the region? Apparently, and again, this is in John Ferris's authorized biography of GCHQ, there were two colossi, the early computers, in Cheltenham. One was called Red and one was called Blue. So we think about Bletchley Park, but we have our own sort of hidden heritage here, and maybe we can build on that, and maybe we can do something that it's not just a museum, but it's actually engaging with science communication, working with Cheltenham festivals, with Cheltenham Science Group, and with others. So there's plenty to do. We've got a lot already here, and we want to try and help bring the stakeholders together with the right infrastructure. We talk about the academic piece. So, clearly, we need to bring together the research community, as well as the industrial community and government. And there's so many different networks that we have. Some of it's geographical, like with University of Gloucestershire and local institutions, but there's a whole broader piece. And I know Kamal is at the heart of leading a lot of our innovation and research discussions in the Golden Valley piece. So it's a really great time to be involved. In terms of us, we've got a lot of governance in place where we're trying to make this happen, because it's not just about people like me selling the vision. It's actually about stitching together in meaningful ways all the different assets that we have. And in terms of at the core, we've got clearly there's the innovation center and zone, but we want to make sure that everybody has their place. And it's such a delight to be working on the project. So in terms of the timeline, lots already happened since 2015. We are, as I say, hoping to announce a preferred bidder for the major development in the west of Cheltenham in July, and then start to crack on with some of the planning, and in the meantime support and work with the existing ecosystem. And I think that is probably where I am going to stop.
Thank you very much, Reid. Indeed, very interesting talk, and I guess everybody's quite excited with the opportunities which is coming in this area. The next speaker is Juliet Grout, which with the title of the talk, which is Addressing Diversity, an IBM Approach. Juliet has been with IBM more than a decade. She worked as a security manager, security architecture, and solution designer. Because of some technical difficulties, we are not going to have the webcam of Juliet to be turned on, but we're going to hear her voice. Juliet, over to you.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction.
Good afternoon, Juliet. You're on, please.
Right, so thank you for asking me to present today. So as you said, I'm presenting on diversity in cyber. I just wanted to start kind of giving my view on why diversity is important. Diversity is important for two reasons, really. One is that we need diversity in terms of thinking so that we get diverse people coming to the table to look at the security solutions that we're putting in place and to look at what we're doing in order to protect our clients. And the other reason we need diversity is because of the skills shortage in the cyber sector. And that's really kind of the two views that I have on that. And there's also a third element that says more diverse teams kind of work more effectively. And as you said, I've been at IBM a long time. I've been at IBM over 20 years. And in that time, I've seen a lot of programs to try and increase the diversity. So if we just move on to the next slide, please. Just want to talk a little bit about my background. So as I said, I've been in IBM a long time. I didn't do a degree in cyber because they probably didn't really exist when I did my degree. I did a degree in history and economics. And I joined IBM as a graduate in 1998. So I did a variety of technical roles in the first decade or so I was in IBM. And that gave me a really good background in sort of a variety of technologies and a variety of different solutions, from sort of OS to firewalls, applications, everything in between. I became a flexible worker in 2008 when I came back from my first maternity leave, and that presented more challenges in terms of, and this is a key thing I see in terms of women being retained in the IT sector, that it's, you know, for a variety of reasons, people want more flexible working patterns, and that's something that IBM has an excellent history on. It's been very early adopter of flexible working patterns and continues to do so. After a few years working flexibly, I realised I was in a bit of a career cul-de-sac and was kind of looking for new opportunities and started to consider cyber. And for me, one of the reasons I moved into cyber was we had some really good role models internally that showed me that there was a diverse team in cyber and that there were people who were doing cyber roles and a flexible contract like myself. So with that, and after a lot of kind of debate and looking at the area, I moved into cyber in 2013, using the existing skills I had and a passion to learn more. And that, I guess, is one of the key things I want to bring out today, that, you know, it's easy when you're recruiting for roles, and certainly I've been part of a recruiting and interviewing panel recently, and you're kind of looking that you want, you know, certain skills, but it's also, you know, the cyber security area is moving very quickly. So whatever skills you want today, you'll probably want slightly different skills tomorrow or next year or whatever. So it really is key to ensure that you cast your net widely from a diversity perspective and look at what soft skills people have got, and also, you know, in terms of growth mindset, what are people willing to learn? Are they willing to adapt? Do they have that kind of mindset? Okay, if you want to move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so I wanted to go on a bit to IBM's approach to addressing diversity. And the first area that we really do a lot on this space is promoting as a career option. So I firmly believe in the mantra, you can't be what you can't see. So if children and teenagers in particular aren't aware that cyber is a career, then how are they going to choose or aspire to it? So in this space, we do a number of things which I think are really invaluable. So the first one I'm going to mention is Cyber Day for Girls. So this is obviously a particularly diverse angle, trying to encourage more girls to be interested in cyber. And we take workshops, and in non-COVID times, we would run these in on an IBM site, or we'd go into a school, and we've been running them virtually over the last 18 months or so. And we take various workshops and sort of small scenarios and kind of take them through different things and outcomes that could happen in different areas in cyber. So from identity theft to internet theft. And I think that we've had some really, really positive feedback from the days I've been involved in that. Another thing that we do within IBM is called PTEC. So this is programs in schools. This enables students aged 14 to 20 years with cybersecurity pathways and other skills to work closely with the individual schools and educational institutes that are involved. And then the more broader program is Open PTEC. So this is free, open, digital on-learning platform. So within this platform, individuals are able to actually get badges in certain areas, and I think this is really motivational for students, because they can publish these badges on their CV or on LinkedIn or any other platform similar to that. So they can actually say, well, I've studied on cyber ransomware or blockchain fundamentals or whatever the subject area is they want to cover, because there's a huge range involved there, and they can actually look at that as skills that they're building to try and improve their CV and sort of develop new interests. Another program that IBM is a partner of is Cyber First. This is a part for the NCSC program. It aims to identify and develop future UK security professionals, so it's aimed at 11 to 17-year-olds. I think when I last checked, there was about 70,000 students who've been involved in that. It has a number of different programs. It also has sort of a cyber discovery game that's part of it, and it also has a girls-only competition, again trying to look at that diversity angle and trying to get more girls and women engaged in cyber career. And the last thing I wanted to mention is a program called Cyber Bites. This is sponsored by GCHQ, and this is really going into universities for students who are from a STEM background and really kind of pitching to them what a career in cyber might look like, talking about the transferable skills I mentioned at the beginning that people have and that they can use to move into a career in cyber. I've recently been mentoring somebody who's joined IBM to the graduate program who's got a degree in chemistry. So you can really see that this kind of works very well. Okay, if you want to move on to the last slide. So the other side that IBM does to promote diversity is in terms of retraining and retaining. So there's a program called Salute My Job, where IBM offers free courses to ex-military veterans to retrain in cybersecurity. Many people know lots of military veterans kind of retire from military after 30 years, so that leaves people in their sort of late 40s, I guess, often, who are kind of got very different skills, a diverse group, but obviously very valuable to retrain into the cybersecurity space. And to date, there's been over 500 veterans that have been trained by this program. And then a more recent initiative IBM has is partnering with the Protection Group International. So they've got a Women in Cyber program. So this is a career conversion program. So what I mean by that is it's open to all sorts of women from various and often non-technical backgrounds. I think we've had a vet, an accountant, a musician apply, for example. And this comes back to what I was saying at the beginning, but it's about having a willingness to learn and soft skills, communication skills, being able to make yourself heard, written skills that are really transferable into all spheres. And then lastly, I just wanted to come back to flexible working. So, as I said, I've been a flexible worker for nearly 13 years now. I've worked on various different contracts within that time, annualized hours, part-time hours, a whole variety of things. And I think this is something, certainly in post-COVID times, that I think having flexibility around what offers are available to individuals really helps most individuals, but also kind of helps from a diversity perspective, particularly, I guess, around females and anyone who has extra care and responsibilities or extra responsibilities. work-life balance that they want to achieve. Okay, that's the end of my pitch on diversity. I'll hand you back.
Thank you very much, Juliet. It was a very interesting talk, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it. Now, we want to start with a Q&A session. And so please post your questions in the Q&A section, and I'm going to go through them one by one. Let's start with Qublai. The question I have here for you is that, which is, can you elaborate a bit more on the multi-cloud backends and how it is beneficial, please?
Thank you, Hassan. Very good question. So yeah, as you know, there are different public cloud providers. We've got, and what we are using in our model is Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud Platform, and all these cloud providers have a lot to offer. And by saying a lot to offer, I mean they have a lot of services that and different pricing models that fit specific needs. So what we do is we combine all that, and based on organization specific needs, we host their model on a specific model that on specific costing model that fits them the best, and that way they get the cheapest possible hosting model for their security solution. And the security solution I'm talking about is a security solution we are providing. So their needs and the security they need is hosted on the best solution that's provided by these cloud solution providers. Does this answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much. And the next question for you is that for your solution, you mentioned individuals, SMEs, and banks. How a solution could actually accommodate those three totally different, businesses and needs. Thank you.
Again, very good question. So our product or services that we are offering target three different entities. So we talked about SMEs, we talked about individuals, and we talked about banks. So first come to SMEs. The reason I talked about SMEs is because SMEs have a different sort of network, and their resources that they can spend on security, they are limited. They don't have unlimited resources, right? So we try to utilize those resources by in the best possible way and provide them the best security solution. So we learn from our solution, learn from their network behavior. It learns from the security requirements, their network behavior, and then provide them the best solution. And while providing the best solution, best security solution, it ensures that it's the cheapest possible solution that they can get and highly responsive. The second one is individuals. So we talked about individual users like myself or you who have their own computers and they need security solutions. So in the conventional security mechanism, as I mentioned, they consume a lot of resources, and they are only effective for known malware or known anomalies. So what we do is, on one hand, we provide the highly responsive and really accurate security solution, and it doesn't consume your CPU resources or host resources. So that's how we provide a really optimized solution for individuals as well. And for banks, thirdly, we at the moment I'm working with a couple of them, and what we are doing is we are actually coming up with a solution for persona-based detection, which ensures that the traffic that's going out is a normal traffic and there are no anomalies in that. And we learn the AI, which is at the core of our solution, learns from their behavioral patterns and then identify any anomalies based on that. This is how we address these three entities.
Thank you very much, Qublai. I understand that this work has been funded by Innovate UK, so I wish you all the success there.
Thank you. Thank you, San.
The next question is from Reid, which It reads, how are the initiatives you mentioned working? Is the data showing that, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm reading actually a question for Juliet. So let me find a question for Reid. Yeah. So the question is, how can we make the most of all the assets in the country with the Golden Valley as both the focus and the driver? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, a really good question. And I think the answer depends on who you are. So if you're a student, then the key thing is to get involved, you know, and there are lots of routes for that. You know, Cyanum is a really good organization to get involved in. And, you know, there's work there you can do in terms of being part of events. And, you know, we're just scratching the surface on that so far with Cyanum. In terms of like innovation assets in the county and in the region, you know, places like C11 and Berkeley Green, you know, I think the key thing there is to look at how we can join up and what are the distinctive things, you know, that each of these facilities and assets have to offer, and then look at how we can sort of work together, because there's actually an emerging group of assets all over the county. And then I think, you know, more broadly, again, thinking about Western Gateway, you know, we've got the opportunities to start partnering with other academic institutions, with other industrial partners and so on. And again, if I think about Western Gateway, you know, one of the things we're investigating at the moment is, could we have the world's biggest living lab with all the assets that we have? You think about how difficult it is to find data, real world data to do research, how difficult it is to find, you know, members of the public or small businesses as research subjects. So there's a lot that we can do, but I think we're just at the beginning of this, and it is about building trust and transparency, particularly when we start thinking about things like data, because ultimately we don't want to be creating, you know, surveillance cities and towns. This has got to be something that's you know, driven by the people, and so maybe we need to start investigating things like data trusts and have things like information privacy there. So I think, you know, there's lots that we can do to get involved in. Part of it is sort of getting people excited and thinking about the possibilities, and then building new relationships, and recognizing that I was sort of saying earlier, you know, we need to move beyond the idea of a zero-sum game where you have winners and losers, because, you know, certainly in the UK, we're actually quite a small country, relatively speaking, and yet we are sort of world leading when it comes to sectors like cyber. I think the other thing, just very quickly, is to sort of how can we work beyond sort of the pure play cybersecurity vertical into other areas, you know, and even thinking about you know, the critical national infrastructure sectors, things like mobility, healthcare, finance, and so on. All of these sectors need cybersecurity and resilience and privacy. So I think there's part of it is sort of starting with imagination, and then looking at what's already happening on the ground, and learning as we go. So that's probably what I'd say to start with.
Thank you very much, Reid. The next question is from you again, which is there a list of potential businesses who are interested to come to the Golden Valley? Yes,
I mean, I suppose that there are lots interested. I can't really talk about all of them now. I think there's a lot of excitement about this, and it's not just from one particular type of business. What's been really fascinating is the way that lots of different businesses are interested in being involved in different ways, you know, whether that's actually being part of the campus, taking space, but actually, you know, more significantly being part of that ecosystem. And, you know, the slides that I was talking about in terms of how innovation happens, you know, it is about for each organization to think about what do they want to achieve in their growth strategies, and also how do they want to contribute, because part of what we're doing does have that social ethos. We're looking at how we can have some sort of investment fund that everybody can contribute to, again, to really make sure that this doesn't become Silicon Valley, where there are those that win and then there's all the people that are left behind. So we're looking at the sort of models for how we can have community engagement and have economic models that can work for everybody. So yeah, plenty of interest, and that's not just local companies. We're talking about broader piece as well. We're working with Department for International Trade on looking at the international dimension, and then in terms of nationally, as I was saying, doing a bit for the UK, working with South Wales, with London, with Manchester, with the Midlands, and the Northeast and so on. So this is not about bringing everybody to Cheltenham. This is about doing something with the rest of the UK.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, it makes sense. For the next question, I want to actually open the floor for all our speakers, to whoever sees to be more relevant to answer the question. It says, can we say about rumors, especially about successful enterprises, that they are a type of threat at the same time as a part of cybersecurity? How it can be dealt with as a threat that could have a negative impact on the lives of individuals and society as well? Reid, do you want to go for that, or Qublai?
Yeah, I'll go just quickly. I mean, like all of these things, sort of cybersecurity has costs as well as benefits. And it's really interesting just listen to Qublai talk about sort of the malware solutions there. The cost of security is never zero. If you collect a lot of data on a network, on a corporate network with endpoints, that data in itself can be used for malicious purposes. So a lot of these things, are two-sided, and I guess so. It's important that we are aware of that, and I guess we've got to try and make things as transparent and as open as possible. If you think about antivirus software, what's the difference between antivirus software and malware? It's to do with the intention, isn't it? And so that's why we need to look at supply chain security and the sort of governance and the sort of people security as well, and have a holistic view of threat.
Thank you very much. Probably you can go for the next question of the same person, Dr. Reid, who's asking, can we say about blackmail, especially on social networking, that is a type of threat, privacy, at the same time as a part of cybersecurity? Can blockchain technology be considered one of the most promising solutions in this field?
Do you want me to respond to that, Hassan? Yeah.
Yeah, if you like so.
Yeah, I don't want to hog all the answers. I mean, absolutely. Again, part of this is the definition of cybersecurity. How wide is it? And when we think about privacy and blackmail, if that involves technology and IT, computers, it's sort of in a domain. So I think we do have to think about cybersecurity as a socio-technical system. It involves people as well as the technology, and clearly with social media, a lot of potential threats there, as well as a lot of benefits from using it. I mean, in terms of the using technologies like blockchain and distributed ledger, there's so many privacy enhancing technologies and security controls that we can apply. So undoubtedly blockchain technologies are useful, but again, it's putting it in context and applying them appropriately. And this is where security by design is really important, making sure we understand the whole systems, and that we don't because ultimately security is not something people think of first. People think about productivity and value first, and then security comes afterwards. So a lot of research over the decades and last few decades have been really focused on how we can design for good security and sort of minimize the impact of productivity. That's a really great field that I think is growing all the time. In fact, Paul Critchard on earlier, from BT, BT were one of the leading companies to start focusing on socio-technical security. So I think undoubtedly, blockchain technologies have a place. I think the other thing, just very quickly, is that we mustn't allow technologies to focus just on the technologies as an end in themselves. Blockchains had a lot of hype, as with AI. These all have their place, but it's got to be rooted within the context of that socio-technical system.
Thank you very much, Reid. And the next question is for Juliet, and I guess it's a very tough one. It says, what's one thing could I do to retain more diverse talent within my cyber workforce?
Okay, so to retain more diverse talent in your workforce, I personally believe that you need to have diverse approach. I don't think it's a one size fits all. Certainly in IBM we have kind of quite frequent employee surveys to kind of look at what people want. Different people have different wants and needs. I think obviously with the COVID at the moment, I think some organisations have responded well. Many of us had kind of different challenges around homeschooling and things like that. So I think it really is listening about what your workforce wants, that's not around sort of pay and things like that, because I think there's a lot of research that says that people, it's the wider factors that keep people retained, such as working conditions, flexible hours, being able to buy extra holidays, for example. So I think that's what I would look at.
Yeah, thank you very much. Juliet, the next question is also from you, which says, Jack is asking, does IBM approach people with neurodiverse conditions to encourage them or even demonstrate the skills that they possess that can be used in security?
So I didn't quite get the whole question. I think it was around neurodiversity. So neurodiversity is definitely something that's received more focus recently, and I think rightly so. So IBM are looking at how we can make our recruitment process more fair to ensure that anyone with a neurodiverse talent, neurodiverse condition, aren't kind of come at this the level playing field. Because as I said, having a diversity of thought is really important, and someone with a neurodiverse condition potentially will definitely have that diverse thought.
Yeah, thank you very much, Juliet. And actually, the next question is quite interesting for me, because I'm also interested to see how are the initiatives you mentioned are actually working. Is there any data showing that the number of women in cyber security is actually increasing as a result of those initiatives?
I mean, I don't have any figures from IBM internally on this, but what I do have, I've been looking at the ISC Squared report, and so they did a report in 2020, it might have been 2019, and compared with the number of women in 2017. So they actually saw that there was an increase in the number of women, but they did an increase from 11% of the cyber workforce in 2017 to 24% in 2019 when this report was written, but they did change the methodology. So it's difficult to measure if that was actually the result of any program. The other thing I would say is that anything that engages girls from the age of 11, potentially if someone goes on to do a degree, engaging someone from the age of 11 will result within 10 years. So some of these are very much longer plays, and it's hard to kind of look at any trends over a couple of
Thank you, Juliet. I'm sure all those initiatives have had great impact. It's just that if we could demonstrate how it actually happens, and encourage others through those demonstrations. The last question I have in the chat is for Reid, from Billy, which asking, do you think a monorail or even a hyperloop linking up the key sites in Gloucestershire would help accelerate our partnership aspirations in a suitable way? If so, how do we make this part of the 2050 vision?
Great question, Billy, and really good to hear from you, Billy. Yeah, I mean, I think infrastructure is really important, and yeah, hyperloops or monorails. Yeah, I mean, I think we do need to think about the future of sustainable transport. We're certainly doing that at the moment with, within Cheltenham Borough Council, Gloucestershire County and highways and so on. And I know that each of the bidders for Golden Valley have put a lot of thought into sustainable transport and how we're going to move from, a car-based economy transport to sustainable transport. Whether it's a monorail or a hyperloop in the long term, I don't know. I think there's lots of stuff that we can do in the short term, like electric buses, and look at starting small. Certainly the e-scooter pilots that are happening in Cheltenham, Gloucester are really good. There's a lot of work looking at mobility. I mean, so the first place for me is look at the current flows of population and movement, and then look at what we can do to sort of build on that. And then in terms of if to make something like hyperloop, that would be, yeah, if we did that maybe as part of the sort of smart city or wider living labs, that could be something. And think bigger. So yeah, let's do it in Gloucestershire, but let's do it as part of Western Gateway and beyond. But we also have to be careful of doing large scale sort of infrastructure projects. I won't comment on any of the sort of existing UK ones, but let's root it in the user need. But thanks, Billy.
Thank you very much. Very interesting session. I really enjoyed myself to be in this session, and I'm looking forward for the upcoming discussions in the next session, which is about teaching and learning, which my colleague Julie Patterson is going to chair. I think there would be a break after this, and the session would be the next one would be start at 1:10. This is time for lunch, and usually what we do is that we do all the networking in that session in a normal time. But yeah, I guess at the moment is lunch alone with the coffee or drink, and then we come back to continue the talks. Thank you very much, and see you in the next session.